I'm putting together a video for my friend Stephan. This is going to be just really ideas on how to interpret, how to use the mental manipulation of the verbiage in order to extract the nested meaning that's there. My name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. First of all, Stephan, I apologize. I checked my email and I saw a video you sent me like a month and a half ago or earlier still, and I haven't been into my email in about 3 months. So I didn't respond. I didn't even say anything to you. I didn't know it was there. I thank you for sending me that video. It's wonderful. I'm glad to see you doing that. If you put up a channel, let me know. I want to log on. Okay. What I want to do is kind of offer a clue that I think is something that is this is all emerging as I'm going along. I'm figuring this out as I go. It's old stuff that requires a certain something. So that's why I disappear. I got lost in this world here, and I'm shut off. Even though I live in society, I'm shut off to it. I really have minimal connection. Right here, this is it. Talking to a camera, putting up videos that 4 people watch. Okay, let's see. First of all, what I know about my own head, and I think this is an important component, because I realized back looking on my life, I put this together. There's been a lot of times I had questions. Why do I think this way? How come I don't fit? There's something not quite right. And I realize all the time, all along, I've had something different going on with my thought process that other people don't have going on, that most people don't. There's other people that do. I'm not, it's not like I'm special, but I'm in a group of people that have a brain type, an evolved brain type that is that's very inquisitive. It would be things like this. If somebody tells you a story like the tortoise and the hare, and then at the end they tell you it's slow and steady that wins the race, and everybody goes away happy, but you're the one sitting there going, wait a minute, how come it isn't, if you're almost finished, don't stop? There's other options there. Your mind is looking for options. They're just following what they're told. Your mind is looking for other options. Jesus kills a fig tree because he was hungry and it was not producing fruit. Power of, disciples were impressed and all of that. What manner is this? And you're sitting there, you're the one going, wait a minute, if he had enough power to kill that tree, why didn't he just have it heavily laden with figs? Why didn't he just make his stomach full so that he wasn't hungry anymore? How could you have the power to kill a tree but still be hungry? As a kid, I'm thinking that. And if your head goes that way, I think what happened is we evolved as a brain type to be on the outside, keep an eye on things, and be very accurate. We think differently, we're processing differently. We need to know. People would have deferred to us back then. Today they won't. Life is different. But back then it would be like, okay, what's the real deal? What's going on? Is this danger or is it threat? Do we need to go not? That would have been our role. We were the ones that were, when everybody else said it's a threat, you're the one going, is it? Is it a threat? Is it not a threat? Is it a friend? Yes, it is a threat. No, it's not a threat. You're the one that's doing something different. And that is how we have to work these verses. But you would recognize, if you do that with your brain, yeah, that's it. If you listen to people and go, wait a minute, what about this or what about that? That's the brain. I also recognized patterns early on. I remember wondering things like, how come it took Jesus 3 days to go raise Lazarus? How come Jonah was 3 days in the belly of the whale? How come Jesus was 3 days in the tomb? There was something vaguely familiar about those in the way they sounded to me. And it turns out they are the same thing. In fact, so much so that they're also the same thing as raining for 40 days and 40 nights to drown out the flood. The stuff gets really thick in this material when you study it. But that was another thing that the brain does, is you're very good at seeing, recognizing, and establishing patterns. Further, I want to say this. There is only one core reality. And I've said this before, but whether you go to Hinduism, Taoism, Buddhism, everything is formed on that same template. Greek myth and religion. There's something at a deeper level that we have to understand. So knowing that, we can go to places where the material is very simple to understand, or places where it's so huge and big, and it's also, like religions, designed not just to carry that template and to be an inner path, but designed instead, since most people aren't going to take that path, well, let's put it in a package then to make sure it's disseminated, but we also need to control these scared people. We need to provide something to this civilization that's emerging, that, they want to rape them they're hurting each other. They're animals. Yeah, we need to have some controls. So you can see that at the same time that ziggurats are being built, or pyramids are being built, or temples are being built, and religions are also emerging at the same time. What does that tell you? When population booms, we got to keep people busy, and we got to keep them occupied mentally as well. Exactly. Imagine life without anything to do and nothing to think about. 6,000 years ago. No, this is really, really important. But we can learn it from easy places and then come back. You have to almost wire your brain to see how it works. And then when you do go to the complicated places, it's just deeper versions of what you've learned in the simple place. It's all going to work the same way. There's the way the life works, and then we're going to create some story in our culture that somehow nests that idea. All right, another thing now, at this point in time, we're at a point of debarkation here. If we're going to find one path, then we're not going to be following the Taoist, the Buddhist, the Hindu, the Christian, the Jew, anybody. If we're looking at their material in a way and seeing something that's in there that makes them all the same, we're doing something that they're not doing. A Buddhist may live a Buddhist life, and that's okay, but they may not take that inner path of just going, I'm going to go directly after her. I might just live my life trying to, here it comes the pain again, I'm going to sit and meditate and watch it come and watch it go, and slowly over time allow that to dissipate. Where this is really an aggressive, okay, here's what happened, here's the memory. What you do is you go aggressively after the perception and resolve it very quickly. Boom. You don't have to wait and wait and wait for that to gradually dissipate. It's tough. It's like ripping off a Band-Aid or something like that at a fast pace. But psychologically, how fast do you want to heal? What do you want to do? Where do you want to get? So there's lifestyles in the religions, Taoism the same way, but at the same time, you turn each one of them inward, and it's a mental path. We're a product of our memories. Resolve the memories, and you resolve your life. And you don't find Buddhists and Taoists or Christians or Jews or anybody teaching that. That right there is what we're after. But when that happens, here's why people don't teach it. It's a personal path. That Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. I am telling the Tao right now. I am exactly telling the Tao, but it's not eternal. A Taoist, go find anywhere on YouTube of anybody describing what that means, and they'll tell you that it's something, it's nebulous, you can't quite understand it, there's this eternal search, but you're the one sitting there with that brain type going, wait a minute, who wrote this? Was it a man? Did he have some kind of special power or magical powers that I don't have? Is there perhaps something in there that I'm supposed to understand? And at some point you realize that's that transition point where it becomes yours. The Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. It is not eternal until you take it. This on the template, what I'm doing right here, is also called the supernatural aid. It's the knowledge to change or to defeat the enemy, which is what? Within. It's the memories. The knowledge required to defeat that is this right here. So Moses' staff or Thor's hammer or whatever, Jesus, all of them magical powers or some kind of power. The supernatural aid is actually this right here. It's knowing what to do. But then the individual has to take it and make it their own. Not until then does it become eternal. So if suddenly it becomes, that's the hero's journey. Then you become whoever it is in the story, the big stories, you're that person. You're Moses, you're Noah, you're Thor, you're Daniel, you're Ezekiel. Any story like that, you become that person as you read that. It plays out in your mind, in the theater of your mind, in a very complex way. But it's something that you have to kind of grow the process in your mind to do. When I was young, I did not know this. I kept going after this and after this and after this. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of thought into this through my lifetime, having jobs remote and things like that, where I'm just driving, weeks going locations to do repair work and have the radio off or playing my CDs with all the the religious material. So I've been into this study quite a bit. It's taken a lot to get here, but so what I can do now is point that way. But that's it. Everybody has to take the path. So I'm going to suggest that all the verses, without going and making a bunch of examples here, you just have to mentally manipulate them. You go back to that Jesus verse and go, okay, you know what, this is about me. I am on this path. What does this represent? It's not a real thing. What does it represent in my life, in my mind, in my soul? These are analogous terms. I've got something growing in me that is not producing anything, whether it's in season or not, and it's not doing me any good. What do I need to do? I need to destroy it and get rid of it. If I want to move on in life, what am I dragging with me? Right now, like in the beginning of the video, I said I'm isolated. I've done that. Everything's cut off. I've done that where I don't have to commit to what's going on out there, and I can just focus on this completely right now. So every verse, when you get done with it, is going to have some kind of an interactive meaning like that. Some of them are going to be bizarre. There's going to be that one where I don't recall, I'm going to paraphrase this but very, very much. But if you're from the Christian roots, you're going to understand the Jesus teachings. Okay, so there's the one where he is being asked by, who is it, the followers or the Pharisees or scribes or something like that. How come? Now somebody asked him, how come your disciples don't wash their hands, but the disciples of the Pharisees and the scribes do, or something like that? And he goes on and talks about the bride chamber, the bride in the bride chamber, that the children of the bride have to be gone, or something like that, of the bride chamber. I don't recall it. Again, I'm paraphrasing. And then that old wine cannot be put into new wineskins and whatnot. And you read that and go, well, there's a clue right there, because it was not a smooth transition. They asked him about washing hands, and he went on and talked about bride chamber and wineskins, and I think in one version even patch on a jacket. So you look at things like that and go, those are clues. They're mental clues, though, that let you know something. They're asking something about the physical world, about the past, and it transitions into something that is different. The bride chamber is up here. The groom is the consciousness, and the bride is the inner self. But as long as the children of the bride chamber, all of the thoughts and things like that are there, we can't have a marriage take place. We are the wineskin in verses like this. I become that. I am the wineskin. If I want to put, and wine represents the way I feel about life. I cannot put a new feeling into my old self. Otherwise it'll, ruin the new feelings. I cannot put, the way it all works that way. You have to put yourself into it. You become the component parts. Patching on a jacket. Here you are, hurt in life. You become the jacket, the cover. There's damage to it. You can't just try to cover it. You have to do something different. They're all representing this idea that we have become mental products and need to let it go. And they go off so many different directions. You would look at that, and when you keep breaking them down, it becomes so starkly interesting. It's like you're standing in the middle of and looking out a porcupine. There's so many things facing different directions. You're like, oh my God, all of these point to one thing inside. This is all me. They're all me. And the stories get more and more complicated. But if you go to Taoism or Buddhism or something like that, where it starts right off that way. And then another thing I recommend is going farther than we need to go farther in our mind. This is a Jesus teaching, to go farther than what you're asked to go. When we're understanding, I think it's important for us to try to get out of our mental biases as much as we can. What we need to actually do is try to imagine ourselves in their place, in their time, living their life. What was it like? You look around and go, wow, okay, none of this is here. I don't have a house. I got a tattered clothes and I'm barefooted. Ragged hair. And that's kind of normal. I'm starting to see a different picture. Each one of these stories, regardless of where you are, it's made for you, your people. You put yourself into each story. So I think what that means there is that no matter what story you read, you become that right there. Whether it comes from Babylon, Jewish material, Greek material, Roman material, all of it. You put yourself into the story. You become that. So that's important to know. As you go through the big stories like that, that's what they're transitioning. Is you're going to be crossing a threshold. You're going to have to go defeat a city or a people, or get something back that's been corrupted, that's become very large. Okay, those are going to be the patterns that you see in there, and you're going to see somewhere in there that the evil person has been trapped away, or put under the sand, or put in a net, or somehow something rendered inert. They're not killed off, but their power is taken away and they're trapped. That represents the defeating of the memory. The memory is still there, but it no longer hurts you. It's been addressed. That right there, if you're moving along and reading, you see things like that on the template. That's what's happening right there. That's representing the memory being no longer able to hurt you. When we're going through Greek myth, for example, the Voyage of the Argo, I use that one. They've got the stage right there is Phineas, the seer, who's getting his food defiled daily. There's a cyclical pain element that's happening right there. And they they need information from him, but they have to help him, so they go to defeat the Harpies. They're chased off up into the heavens, and they go up to kill him, but Zeus they're told to stop chasing them, but they won't hurt you anymore. It's fine. So the Harpies were not destroyed, but they're rendered, they won't bother you anymore. Those are the elements. You're looking at something in there that's always kind of got some kind of a flavor to it like that. When we go to the Bible, since we know that it's there, you just look for it. You read it now and go, why does this sound this way, this weird thing? So the trees that grow up that have seeds that grow more trees of the same kind, it's like, well, of course that happens. God created it that way. What they're doing right there is just taking an element from nature and saying, here's a cycle. And then pain in childbirth. That is, now that you've made this judgment, whatever this is in life, that you've had this experience, you're going to continue to feel. And you know what? When you interpret this, that's what sin is, a judgment. Every time you name something, naming is the origin of 10,000 things. Sinning is the origin of 10,000 things. Just treat it analogous. It doesn't mean you went and stole something. It means you've judged something, and you're going to experience from that. So now pain in childbirth, continual pain in childbirth. Every time this emerges from you, it's going to be cyclical pain. Plagues. Plagues happen right after Pharaoh marries Sarai from Abram. Down here, with the cyclical pain happens. That represents the inner self is now corrupted, and as a result, we have cyclical pain. It's going to continue on like that. You're looking for elements that are repeating, but you know already that somewhere in the story, if it's a myth, is going to contain that element in there. So you just look for it. You're looking for something that sounds like a cycle in there. Planets orbiting again and again or something like that. You're like, oh, okay, there's my cycles. Yeah, it'll be in there. Wheel follows. Buddha in the Dhammapada, all that we are is a result of what we have thought. It's founded on our thoughts and based in our thoughts. If we've ever thought an evil thought, which is a naming like that, it's the same sort of a thing, then pain follows, like a wheel follows the foot of the ox that draws the carriage. I'm the ox that draws the carriage. There's the cyclical pain based on the thought that I've had with me. It's right there, very kind of easy to see once you know that's what is there. In Greek myth, Sisyphus in hell, tasked to do what? Roll a boulder up a hill, it comes down for eternity, can never complete the task. So punishment in hell, cyclical pain. Prometheus, who gave fire to earthlings, is punished by Zeus. He's chained to a cliff, and an eagle eats his liver out. It grows back. It's painful. It's eaten out again, and it grows back. And the Greeks thought that the liver was the seat of emotion. So here we have this emotional idea of a cyclical pain. And what happens actually, this is strange. You look at it and go, well, he gave fire to earth. He helped them advance. The people of earth were primitive, and Zeus wanted them to stay that way. However, Prometheus gave them fire to help them advance. And that is Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. You would go, what? Are you serious? Okay, God wants them to stay primitive. In the Bible, God tells Adam and Eve to not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, nor of the tree of life, the two that are in the middle of the garden. He wants Adam and Eve to stay ignorant. Yet what happens is that Eve is tempted, so this represents our inner self goes ahead and gets corrupted, making life judgments. We've eaten of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. We are now going off and experiencing life and judging life as a result of that. And we're kicked out of the Garden of Eden. And we're going to have cyclical pain in childbirth as a result of that. What happened here is that the same thing that represents us that we got. And here I'm referring back to the Greek myth. we're advancing. Instead of it being created as a pain thing, it's created as a, you are supposed to stay primitive, but now you're advancing. But it still represents the human cycle, life cycle right there. You can see it. It's very artfully done. It is so complex, different sounding from each other. Unless you understand that they're concepts. And the concepts can be huge. That cyclical pain story sounds big until you go, oh, wait a minute, go to Exodus where there's 10 plagues, each one of them a big story in its own. That's cyclical pain that is the same thing as you will continue to have pain in childbirth. And all of those represent us starting out in life pure, and then we go off and experience life. It's really a template. When we strip it all off there, it's just a mentally interactive. We started out pure. We then went on to experience life. As a result, we're going to live unaware of the higher awareness. We're going to live through our memories. We're going to have those experiences. They're going to repeat until it gets bigger and bigger and we get corrupted and the world needs to be destroyed. And that represents us. And then when you turn inward, that's when the destruction has to happen. The world, it's my world. It's my earth. Heaven is a mental place. The Dalai Lama is living in heaven right now. Anybody that is living free of the turmoil, if as much as you can of your own things. I mean, there's turmoil today that you can't live free of. I mean, there's a disturbance in the force. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to go think about this until I resolve it. This one can't be resolved. So, but as far as your own inner qualities, the pain, the shame, the stuff that you hurt over, that are things that need to be destroyed. And the destruction of the cities and all of that, the trapping away of the whatever it is, the bad element, putting it, somehow destroying that, all of it represents the same thing. And then coming back to the world, coming back to life, and realizing if we've changed, that doesn't mean we can change the people around us. It's a solo trip. We experience changes in life. Anyway, I don't need to go all over the place. I guess really it was the brain type and the idea that you have to look at those verses and go, how does this work? Work it in the head, work it in the head. Where does this go? Where does this go? What are these pieces? Do it until it makes some kind of sense to you that you go, okay, I can interact with that. Killing that fig tree means getting rid of this. I'm wasting my time over here doing something that I'm committed to that I need to quit doing. It's not okay. It's taking energy. It's taking something from my life. And I don't mean things that we're responsible for. I mean things that we're doing that where somebody's just like leeching off you, or those kind of things, or things that you're hanging on to as habits or stuff in life that it's just like, it's time to clean out the old stuff, get rid of it. It's time to just, I think a part of getting rid of things is that way. So I've done that at various times in my life, but then I turn around and collect new things. So I don't know. I think having stuff is also normal. Okay, anyway, so I wanted to talk about that. Everything has to be worked that same way. All the verses, everything, everywhere. And it's really old. We have to get into their heads as much as we can. That if any of it is interpreted, every bit of it has to be interpreted that same way. There's no way around that. You can't interpret some and not interpret other. I think the only way to do it accurately is the 100%. It's all analogous. It's written in a certain way. That Abram and converting to Abraham, converting to Isaac, converting to Jacob, all those things going on there, the giving away your daughters and the Sodom and Lot having sex with his daughter. The only way those stories can make sense is that they play out in the life of a human being. They're analogous terms for things that are happening as we're experiencing life and developing our own Sodom and having our own inner corruptions going on. Those stories are something different than what they sound like on the outside. They're nothing to look at and be proud of. Not really. No, not at all. But they're mysteries that nevertheless are on the same template as the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, I just wanted to say this. I don't know why I saw your video and I wanted to reach out and apologize, number one, but number two, I'm excited about you working on this stuff and talking about things that I've got a very short, well, it's an apocryphal work, 1 page only, and I think it's like 10 sentences. That can be pretty big sentences. It fills the page. the prayer of Manasseh, and it's a fun one right there. Oh, it's going to be, it really just tells you what to do in a very short thing. It does look like a college thesis paper or something like that, I swear. When you read these and get into them, you'll see things like this and go, wow, that's very simple. It's still following the Abrahamic numbering pattern. I should be careful with that term because it was Babylonian too. But yeah, when you see that video, I'll just talk you through it. It's going to be a fun one. All right. I don't know what else to say here. Ask any questions. Take care. See you in the next video.